Welcome to the Mavens Do It Better podcast. And now, your host, Heather Newman.
Hello, everyone. Here we are again for another episode of the Mavens Do It Better podcast, where we interview extraordinary experts who bring a light to our world. And I have another amazing light right here today, Debbie Ireland. Hello, lovely. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. You?
Fantastic. Great to see you. Thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome. Excited. Good.
I know.
Good to be here.
It's so good. So full disclosure, Debbie and I are friends and we work together, and she is amazing. She has an amazing business, which we'll talk about. And Debbie, hey, where are you coming to us from today?
I am from I'm at home in New Zealand. I'm a very proud Kiwi and absolutely love my country, and I'm so proud of it. So if you ever follow me on any platform, you'll see me post lots of beautiful pictures of beautiful New Zealand.
Yeah.
Home of the America's Cup at the moment too, by the way. I think that's relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Very timely. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I had the beautiful pleasure of going to New Zealand for my first trip. That was 2019, May. And Debbie and I hung out for the weekend after a beautiful show that she puts on. Will you talk about that event? I mean, we're in the middle of, obviously, COVID, where all these in-person events have gone away, which we'll probably talk about a little bit. But that event, you've built up for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Our first conference was in 2009.
Yeah.
And I think we've done 27 events across New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong.
Wow.
Yeah, so lots of events, of which we haven't done one since, oh gosh, was it the one you were at maybe? Oh no, we did one in August in Australia. That was the last one. Yeah, but you were there too, right?
Yeah, I was there at that one as well. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So Debbie owns an amazing company. Tell everybody about your company.
So Share the Point has been around for 14 years, and I guess like any small business, it's morphed a little bit and actually has had to incredibly, even more so in this last year, as you can imagine, with the events and the conferences. But we do events. So we do the digital workplace conferences, which are the large ones annually. And then we do lots of smaller events as well. So we were doing digital workplace days. I think we had 17 events planned for last year and we got one done.
Wow.
So lucky, we are fortunate in New Zealand because we haven't had the strict lockdown like you guys have had and all over the world.
Yeah.
We did have a little one, but so incredibly blessed and thankful that we've had life pretty much as normal, except we can't travel overseas. So
right.
I did manage in November to do one day in-person event, and it was just amazing how everyone just loved being back in the same room and being able to connect and just talk to each other. You know, it was weird, but it was... So that was awesome that we managed, and it was a regional one, so it was only 100, under 100 people, so that we could do it.
Yeah.
But Share the Point. So Share the Point does events, and we do training. So lots and lots of training, which of course we took lots and lots of Microsoft 365 training online. We'd already been doing a little bit of that, but obviously the pandemic forced us into more of that, which was great. And we went into a bit more consulting than we would have done otherwise. So we partner a lot, but we've been doing a bit more consulting just because it's been, the direction we've needed to take. So that's what we do.
I know. So I've known Debbie. God, we've known each other over a decade, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And we work.
But that's from all the speaking and stuff and being at different conferences. Good grief, all over the world, Las Vegas and Anaheim and.
Yeah. I know. We've hung out in many cities all over the globe together. Yeah, and. You were an MVP for a while for Microsoft, and you're an alumni of that, and so it's been fun with Debbie. Like we emailed and all this stuff I think together before we actually met, and then we started seeing each other at conferences and stuff. And
I was an MVP for 9 years, and actually just in last year I just got awarded as a Microsoft Regional Director for. Yes. Our region. So there's only three of them in New Zealand actually. So I don't think I've had a chance to really feel like I've contributed much value to that role in these times. But it was nice to be acknowledged. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually had a call with Shiva not too long ago to check in with her. I got to meet her with at the Reactor when we were in town for Australia, and she and I've been doing some in cahoots on things with my new job at Microsoft too. So that's been super fun. So yeah, I seem to have, because of you, thank you. I have I had a lot of friends in Australia and New Zealand anyway, but I think because of that trip and everything that we took, it was so beautiful. I hung out with Debbie for a while, and we went to your hometown. So let's go over to origin story and talk about where you grew up, because I've seen it. It's so beautiful, everybody. So tell us about origin story, where you grew up and how that all came up.
Yeah. So, well, actually, where I grew up, oh no, we did go to Rotorua. I was thinking, no, we didn't. So we did. So I originally was born in Rotorua, which is about an hour away from where I live at the moment. And it's where all the mud pools are. And Heather and I went and
It was awesome.
Bathed ourselves in mud and covered ourselves in mud from head to toe and sat in these hot pools, which was, it was awesome. Eh?
Yeah, well, and it's sulfur, right? So it's super stinky too. Like,
and everything stunk. Yeah. I think I threw mine out in the end. The towels were like, oh, but anyway.
I left mine with you. I was like, okay, and that's
Yeah. So it's a tourism town, actually. It's quite a small town, but I left there when I was about, I think, 17, and that was my first trip to America, actually. And I was, funnily enough, because I'm sure we'll get onto the book, but when I went to America when I was 17, I traveled around with a self-development type company, and they had all these retreats all over America, and I stayed at them and worked on them in California and in Texas, and saw my very first tarantula and all these amazing things that a little old New Zealand girl was, eyes wide open. Went to New York, and you can imagine as a 17-year-old, it was like blow your mind stuff. Actually, I lived in Iowa too. I worked on this one retreat up there and had to pull ticks off the dogs, and lived on a farm. And
wow, that's
So but that also opened up, I guess, the first love of travel and wanting to just do it. So and then I'm now living back in Tauranga, which is also in the Bay of Plenty, only an hour away from where I grew up, but which is beautiful as well. It's got the beach and the mount, as you saw. And it has and I love the beach and I love sunrises. That's my other probably big passion, is seeing a brand new day come to light. So
so Debbie has a beautiful Instagram account, and you do a lot on, speaking of, we're going to talk about her awesome book that she just wrote. It's out. It's so good. We'll talk about that in a minute, but you do a lot of really wonderful inspirational work with people, about the sunsets you see and getting outside and all of that kind of stuff. I love it. So people we'll have to tell everybody where to find you on the intranets out there in the social world as well. So I get a lot of energy and a lot of pleasure out of nature. I think it's my grounding, kind of, whether it's the bush, and New Zealand has amazing native bush. I'm trying to remember if we went for a little walk in the bush anywhere, did we? I can't remember. Well, we went to a couple of parks, and we definitely went to the beach. A couple of times,
But the native bush in New Zealand has all sorts of ferns and palms and different, things that are native to New Zealand, and it's amazing, like any, big bush. But either that or the beach or the, I don't know, waterfalls or whatever. I don't know. It just gives me energy. So everyone's got different things, don't they?
Yeah, totally. So you were 17 in Rotorua, and then you did that trip. So how did you get into tech? Like, how did that happen?
So I'd done a bit of traveling and all sorts of things, and then one day I must have come back from one, and I honestly did lots of traveling, and I actually, for my 50th birthday, I did this, Prezi, the application Prezi. Yep. So I did this Prezi where you can zoom in, and I had this world, because Stephen, my now husband, we'll talk about that later, every time I kept saying something about what I'd done in my past and where I'd been, he was like, oh my God, you were here, you were there, like, what is this? So I did this Prezi that I presented on my 50th of all the different places I'd been and how I went here and went there, and I had photos at each one. And I did travel a lot and lived in lots of different houses, and I think I've settled down now a little bit. But anyway, I one time I came back from overseas, and I was like, oh, should I better get a job or something, and got hold of some friends that I used to work for, and they gave me a job, and then they said, oh, do you know anything about Access, and do you know databases? And I went, Oh, no, but I'm sure I can learn. So I took off down to the beach for the weekend, lay on the beach in Mount Maunganui, actually. I was living in Auckland, and with, in those days, because it was the 90s, a hard copy book of Access for Dummies or something, and literally lay on the beach and taught myself Access. And I thought, oh, this stuff's pretty cool. I could, my brain was like going, oh, I can figure that stuff out. Right, and so then, and it just went from there because I just had a passion for it, and I'm definitely a self-learner, so I have to get hands-on. I have to teach myself stuff. And so getting into SharePoint was a little bit the same. I decided one day I wanted to be a project manager. So I did all that study and was a project manager, and then went and worked for this company. I thought, oh my God, their processes are shit. I need to go and sort something out. So I thought, oh, look at this WSS thing with SharePoint. Oh, I could do project management and that, and, build all the methodology in. So that was me. I was away. And then the next year I just went, oh my gosh, there's something in this, so I'm going to take it and make a business out of it. So, I don't know. That's how I got into it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's one of those where it's like, I don't know, you're super creative too, and you have that, but you're also super organized. Like Debbie, seriously, y'all, like she's one of the best sort of organizer producers in the business. Like,
thank you.
You are, and trainers, and like, everybody loves being at your events, and from speakers to it's always an amazing, moment to be there, and also, doing it where you grew up and stuff, and where places you love, and supporting the community. It's super cool. So yeah.
Funny, I have a very good friend in Australia who calls me the most organized person she's ever known. because I'm quite often all over the place, but I always have a plan, I always have thought of everything, and I'm always like down to the last thing. It's like, but she's like, oh, you've got this happening here and this happening there, and I'm like, but I know, I'm sorted. Totally. So when it gets to the day, I'm like, it's kind of like you just got to get in the flow.
That is very true. Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those where it's like, I don't know, I like to be surprised and spontaneous, but I do like to, like, I've always said, like, I can leap off a cliff, but I want to know that there's like a really nice feather bed and, maybe some like chocolate covered strawberries there when I get there. I mean, I don't know, but why not? Right?
glamping, not camping, right?
Yes, exactly. For sure. Yeah. That's so awesome. So let's talk about this wonderful book. I had the bird's eye view into this book from the moment, and cover pages and stuff. So thank you. What an honor to like watch your journey through this. So thank you for including me in that, first of all. It's super cool. It's always great. And I'm going to put it up on the video here. Those of you who are listening to the podcast, the book is called Work-Life Balance, My Arse. And ARSE, yes. And how to remove the guilt of putting your life first. And the cover is blue with yellow and white lettering. And there is a tightrope with a big old elephant on top of a chair on the tightrope. It's fantastic. So, and you can see I've flagged the book with some things. So we tell everybody where did this come from? Where's this inspiration? How did this happen? Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I am going to share one of my little moments that you and I had actually that took me to some of this, because it was weird. When you were out, we went to Karioi Beach. Yes. And it was really funny because I said to Heather, okay, so tomorrow, this is us texting from one bedroom to the next, by the way, because we were too lazy to probably get out of bed or something. But anyway, and I'm like, so choices for tomorrow or today or something. We can go and do The Hobbit. Remember, that was one of the choices?
Yes,
go and do The Hobbit. Or I've been looking online and we can go and get a massage and go for a walk on the beach. And Heather texts back and goes, massage, walk on beach. And I'm like, yay, thank God for that. So we went to this amazing beach, an amazing resort called Castaways, actually. And while each of us had a massage, the other one got to go for this long walk on the beach on this really wild west. The west coast of New Zealand has black sand, and this beach you can walk on, and it's usually can be real gales and, rough and rugged, and the whole countryside was like that. And I took the time and I thought, wow, I love doing events. And I love all the people side of it and organising all that, and I love all the tech, but there's this other side of me that's not just tech. It's not just about even within our business and everything, I'm all about change management. I'm all about the people side, getting the most out of it and all that stuff. So I've always been about the people side, but this was more the underlying who are we and why are we doing what we're doing, and that whole self-awareness and what makes us content and all the gratitude stuff and all the stuff I love and have loved actually. And when I look back, it's like when I was 11, my mother got involved in that self-development program that I said took me to America.
Yeah.
So my journey had begun then, and I was involved in this other movement at the age of 12 or 13, holding these little things with my friends called GETS, which is Growing Executives of Tomorrow, but it was all spiritual stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then at the age of 19 or something, I was off living in Australia for a while, or 20 or something, and then I was reading Anthony Robbins' book, Unlimited Power, into all of that.
And then,
and then the journey just continued. So I've always had this passion and always read and researched a lot on what makes us tick and how I can better myself or how I can improve myself, but also what makes us just content and happy. So all of that started bubbling away, and our walk and our time and our little bubbles on the beach here definitely was a defining moment, I think, in some of that. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, no, that was for me as well. I think and it was also, you invited me to come speak, and we've been talking about it for a while. And you also you had me speak on tech, but you also had me speak on things that I'm passionate about with healthy culture and power skills and all of those things, which very much mapped to your keynote that year as well. Yeah,
which was after our beach session. So it was funny because then I thought, why can't we bring more of this sort of element into the conferences? And so I started doing that in August, and I was actually really looking forward to last year bringing in a whole recharge track so that people start to look at their well-being. And then all this COVID thing happened and all the well-being stuff became paramount. So it was really weird. But so after the beach thing, and then I thought, okay, at the Australian keynote, which you saw my keynote, which kind of was very much what the book's centered around. I hadn't written the book at that point, but so I started and I was writing blog posts and stuff, and then I just thought, wow, I could turn this into a book. I've got enough content here, because it was weird. I did a bit of coaching when I did the keynote, some presentation coaching and all that kind of stuff. And this lady who was just amazing, Benita, was saying to me, you've got too much, you need to cut it down. You know what it's like when you plan a session, right? And you're like, okay, I need to take it from this. And I thought, well, I do have, but I want to say this and I want to say that. And, so I started writing down little stories and everything else. And then I decided, I'm going to write a book. And not long after that keynote, I started pulling it all together and very slowly. Do you want me to talk about the process for that? Because it's kind of cool.
Totally. I think, absolutely. Yes.
So I did I've done a couple of sessions taking back to tech now, because it's quite fun to tie it back in anyway, on planner and on to do and on task management, right?
Right.
So, and in that, I was talking about how regardless of the tech that you use, the actual applications you use, it's about your methods for task management or your methods for time management or whatever, right? And one thing for me that I reckon was just golden is time blocking. Do you use time blocking much with stuff that you do? So, and being disciplined with it. So, have you read Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. Club?
Oh, I know that. I haven't read it, but I know that.
It's great. Anyway, he talks about it, and he talks about having, I think he calls it 90-91, so 90 days for 90 minutes on one topic. And I used to get up. I'm an early riser, I love the sunrises, all that type of stuff. But I would get up in the wintertime too and spend an hour and a half where I absolutely would not turn on any other app. As soon as I turned on email or Teams or anything, I'd be lost and that would be gone. And I would write, and I would have to, some mornings I would be like, I'd just go back and edit things because I wasn't in the mood for writing. Or some mornings I'd just sit down and go, oh my God, I just don't have any inspiration. And it would take me 10 minutes of just saying no, and I'd do a bit of meditation first. I might do a little bit of exercise or whatever, but it would be very ritual and it would be very, in the zone. And then, because I was sort of dedicating that time, the words would come or it would just happen. And I did that for 3 months or whatever, every single morning or pretty much. And I'm talking all the time. And that's how I got the book written. I just hear so many stories on how people start something and can't finish it. And I totally totally get that. And it was, but it was a really, really different process than what I expected. Really different. I learned lots. I grew lots. It was, it was amazing.
How did you publish it? I'm always interested in that.
Yeah. So I'm self-published. I just did it myself, but I used this this online thing called Reedsy, Reedsy, and it's like have you ever used Upwork? Do you use Upwork in America? Is that?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So Upwork, and you have all these different, and so I loved this because was this before COVID or during? Oh, no, it must have been during. But anyway, but it's your whole bringing all the online worlds together. So with Reedsy, you can find an editor. You can find someone to do my book design. So the lady that did my book design was in the UK. One of my first editor who helped me a lot with coming back and sort of saying, can you expand on this? And, you need to, this doesn't make sense, was in California.
Okay.
And it's kind of like you look at all these profiles and you can choose who you want. And I'm like, I like the feel of that one. Boom. And then you kind of communicate with them a bit. And then my proofreader was out of Australia.
Wow.
So, it's all this kind of, you can do it all online. So,
that's awesome. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I had another friend on, was that yesterday? Yeah, Nancy, Nancy McSherry Johnson. I tell her it's all her fault. You're another person in my life where it's all your fault. So many good things have happened because we met and did things together. You know what I mean? Like, it's that moment of like, that's your fault. This is happening and it's awesome. And Nancy gave me my first job at Microsoft. So, and she's sort of like an OG of that for me. But anyway, we were talking, she has a book out, and I find it fascinating that sort of there's legitimacy with a book, and then there's also a way to get a ton of information out at the same time, and then figuring out how to kind of use that book in either online courses or ebooks or different, it becomes this thing that you can just use forever for great fodder for what you're doing. Right.
Yeah.
But you gotta sit down and do it. Like, I am remiss on something that I've been wanting to write. And so I'm listening to you, and I'm like, maybe I need to get my 90 minutes in the morning and really listen to my own message about morning time and do that. You know what I mean? That's how we get inspired. So
and it's no excuses too. So it is, if you can't write and you're sitting there and nothing's coming, go back and do some editing of the same. You're still working on the book type of thing, like it's But you're right. That whole the book provides fodder for other things. So you and I talked also, which I haven't actually formally launched or done anything more with it, to be honest, but about my Recharge idea, which is a whole Recharge Time being another company.
Can't wait.
Well, but I haven't. But the funny thing is, so a lot of the book I want to turn into modules for that and do an online course for that. And then I've had a couple of companies that I've worked with, quite large organizations that I've done all this, Microsoft 365 training for, and they're coming back and going, well, you wrote that book. Can you write us a workshop on emotional intelligence? And I'm going, EQ, I wouldn't. And then I thought, and this lady goes, I read your book. It's everything in there. It's like, that's what we want. And I'm like, I wouldn't have called it an emotion, it's just terminology and words. And I went, okay, I could do that.
Totally. Yeah. That's super cool. Yeah, I think it's avenues for sure, on that sort of thing. And I think, I feel it. We all feel it. In the middle of this, it's like I love it that it's work-life balance, my arse, because will you talk about, so you have a concept in here that's just, that I love, and I do have my little flags in here that sort of the, acknowledging that magic doesn't happen in the middle.
Yeah.
I love that. And, that concept to me, I was like, it really stuck out. And I was like, will you talk about that a little bit? I know it's sort of in the middle.
Yeah. So that's my second myth. And the myth is that when you think about balance, balance implies that you have to be in the middle, that you need to be, in order to balance things, there has to be that middle point. And the big thing is that magic success, anything that you want to happen actually doesn't happen in the middle. The magic doesn't happen in the middle. You know, the results don't happen in the middle. They happen when you go to an extreme. Yeah. So you have to go out of balance in order to reach those extremes. But when you do go out of balance, then, and so it's like going, focusing on what's important for a particular period of time. Yeah. I actually I use probably 3 different examples to explain it. Shall I just run through those?
Yeah, do.
So one is if you're at work and you've got a really big project that you're working on. And so you're 100% focused on that. You're really involved with the people. That becomes your day in, day out. All you think about, you're doing the hours on it, blah, blah, blah. For a period of time, that's what matters most.
Right.
Or another example is if you've entered into a sports event and I did a half marathon once, so it's like the timetable for the training just takes over your life. It's like, what do I need to do today? What milestone do I need to reach in order to meet the next one, in order to get to that end goal? You know, like. So for a time, that's what matters most, and that's what you focus on. You know, right. You've gone out of balance, and you've gone to that extreme. Or if you've, and my third example is if you've ever had the chance to experience the first 2 weeks of a newborn, you know, like when you very first have that baby in your arms, and there's this intense commitment because, you know, there's nothing else. It's not about you. It's just about this brand new little being, and that's what your whole life has revolved around. And for that period, that's what matters most.
Yeah.
So it's about defining what your matters most is, or your most important thing is, and then allowing yourself to go out of balance to find that magic. Yeah. But, and as I say, if you go too far, to one extreme, right, you tip over the edge, and you've got to realise where your tipping point is, because I think and good grief, I think that's where most of our defining points come from quite often, aren't they?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Yeah, your myth 1 is work and life are separate entities, myth 1. And then you've got the myth 2, balance implies aiming for the middle. And then myth 3, work-life balance implies a destination. So those are the 3 big sections of the book, and then the magic hit at the end. So yeah. This is cool, y'all. I really love the book, Debbie. It's like I've heard you talk about some of these things, and then to see them in the book is like super exciting. And then also every sort of chapter and has like gems. Right? Like where did the gems part come from? Where's that?
I think that was because I mean, as I said, I've read tons of books, and I actually like it when I can, and I usually write, sorry, excuse me. I write my own gems down. I think when I'm reading, you know how you you've got your little Post-it notes. You write your own notes, and you're like, oh, I need to remember, or I want to do something about that. And do you listen to Audible books?
Oh yeah.
So I'll be out walking, and then I'll have to get my phone out and my OneNote out and write down notes. Everyone around is like, what's she doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the gems were, what are the takeaways, or there was reflect and refine, and how can I do something with what I've just read? So I wanted to make it practical in that way.
Yeah. Love it.
Actually, one key word I've got, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this, because you know, the third myth is about it's not a destination, it's a journey. And I think that's the thing, because and I'll come back to that. Well, no, I'll talk about that first, and then I'll come to my keyword that I'm working on at the moment. But so if you say it's not a destination, when you say I want to achieve work-life balance, it's like people keep saying it's something I want to achieve or attain. Right. You know, there's 21 steps, there's 5 strategies, there's, you know, it's something that we set out to do, and we're going to get there, and then all of a sudden we've got it. Where that's not the case, because it's not something that it's an end goal. It's something that happens all the time. It's about that journey. It's about focusing on whatever matters most for a period of time, and then changing our meaning and changing what we're doing to get a different result.
Yeah.
But anyway, my keyword at the moment is becoming, I decided.
Love it. Nice.
So have you read Michelle Obama wrote a book, and she named it Becoming, I think it's Becoming Michelle, isn't it? Or something. Anyway.
Becoming.
Or is it just Becoming? Yeah.
I was like, I was like,
got it.
Oh, it's in the other room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got it on Audible. I haven't finished it, but I'm enjoying it actually. It's cool. But anyway, the becoming thing, I was talking to this. I have this check-in weekly. I've got a friend who asked me if I'd be her I can't remember what she called it, accountability coach for losing weight.
Okay.
And she's trying to lose weight, and she goes, oh, I just think you'd be great at it, and all I want to do is send you a spreadsheet. And I said, oh, I don't want a spreadsheet. Let's do a 7:30 on a Monday morning, just to catch up on the call. And she goes, well, what can I give you? And I said, believe me, the conversations will give me more than, more than I could want.
Right.
Anyway, so one day I was saying the becoming word is like, instead of saying, and actually I'll use losing weight because that's, everyone relates to that, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking, it's not about the losing weight and saying I want to get to this weight, and then I will have achieved my goal,
right.
Because you don't actually achieve your goal when you get to the weight. I've been, I got married, so I thought I'd better lose a few kgs and look great on the wedding day.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I thought, okay, I've got a few more kgs to go, and then I thought, and then what? What do I do? I can't just make that the goal that I've been working towards. It's about, so it's about becoming who you want to be. And it's actually not about me becoming slim. It's actually, for me at my age, about becoming strong, becoming, like building my strength so that I don't injure myself so much, and so I can recover easier, all that type of thing. Yeah. From a learning point of view, it's like, who do I want to become and what type of person do I want to be? But it's that whole journey. I don't know. It was just the essence of the word becoming. Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I feel like I love the book too. And I think we're always becoming something new and different.
Yeah.
Every moment of every day, we are butterflies and caterpillars. We're constantly metamorphosizing. And so, I'm absolutely, I love that word, becoming. Yeah. I mean, and I don't know, like you and I are similar in age and, also like thinking about, parents or kids or whatever, like what they're becoming at any given time. And that's like, watching parents in their 70s and I know you have a daughter and you're watching her grow, and what are we becoming over time, Yeah. I love that concept. That's super cool. Yeah. I like picking a word too. Like, I'm not a big fan of the like big New Year's resolutions, but I like picking a word for the year. And I was realizing, I was like, did I pick one for the year?
Do you want to know what mine is for the year?
Yeah, tell me. I was like, I don't think I picked one.
No, you reminded yourself you got to go back to your journal, right? So my word for the year is surrender. I don't know if it was last year's word as well, but it was surrender and the fact that, well, with COVID, things change, and you've actually just got to surrender and say, you know what? I'm just going to take, I'm going to let things flow. I'm not going to stress about it. Circle of influence, circle of concern stuff. What can I do about some of this? And some of it just is to surrender and let be and enjoy what it is. So, yeah.
I love it. I don't know if I chose this word, but I feel like I've been saying it a lot. And so maybe it is the word for me for this year is grace.
Nice. I love that word.
Yeah. I've started I tend to be on I call it woo-woo, but whatever, like on the that side of things. And, so even like my meetings with teams and other people, I've been starting them with like, just reminding everybody that we're in the middle of something and that we need to give each other grace.
Yeah.
And that everybody's struggling with something that we don't know. And because we forget that. I forget that, I get annoyed with somebody because they're not, and then I'm like, and then I'm like, you have no idea what they're struggling with. And so like we need to, so maybe grace is my word for the year. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah. I like that word.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I adore you. First of all, I'm so excited. You wrote this amazing book, and gosh, what's next for you? What's going on? Like,
well, funny, because I guess the word surrender is kind of part of that, but it's, I've kind of taken some time. Last year kind of shook me a little bit. And then I thought, you know what? Sometimes you can just, instead of chasing, more money, bigger business, expanding, new adventures. I just thought, first of all, I just thought I need to actually go back and think how I can live on the least amount of money possible. That's really unusual for me.
Oh, seriously though, right? Like financial looky-loos, I think, have been everybody, right? Like,
yeah, but it's also, what do I really need? Like if I can live on a little bit of passive income and not have to do all this drive, which is me and I mean, I'm a very driven person, but to try and let that go and just surrender and say, I don't want to do all that. I actually just want to let things happen for a while. And so I kind of planned enough. I had to rejiggle things with staff and all that kind of stuff, but I sorted things so that I could have a bit more time over the Christmas because that's our quiet period. I went away in February and took a couple of weeks off, and we got married down the South Island. And we're also about to build a house, and I thought I want to enjoy that journey too. You know, that's another journey. It's a massive piece of land. Well, an acre and a quarter. Whatever you call that, but 5,000 square meters. Oh gosh, I'm in all the wrong things for America. But anyway,
but it's covered both. I think we're good.
No, I never built, but it's also the fact that it's this blank canvas as far as land. So I've been propagating all these little plants and splitting them up and getting them ready. Like I'm talking 500 of them. We're not doing things, small here. I've got this Easter planting bee happening because I want to do all these Mondo grass things and just all this, and then do a palm grove and do succulents and, cut off little, all of the stuff that's just like, I'm going to make the most of this. I'm probably not going to build again. And why rush it? Why not just, and it's been a long process. But as far as work, I am keeping on with what I'm doing. I'm actually just talking to Microsoft about doing a few events this year, and I want to do that. But again, I'm not really rushing. I've stopped rushing. I'm just, and if a client rings and says, will you help? And I've got time, I'll be like, yep, absolutely love to. And if I don't, it's a lot calmer. I don't know what it is. It's a different energy this year. So,
what's the sort of, there's the great awakening, the great realization, the great, like there's, people sort of titling sort of this time for folks, and so, so much being revealed, I guess, what you do with it. There's something really exciting about a forever house. My friend who I've talked to earlier today, she was like, we're saving up and figuring out our forever house. And I was like, so the house that you just want to be in forever. And I was like, I've never heard that before, and I kind of like that.
Although I can't say this is going to be the forever one. I think there'll be a beach house down the line.
That's funny.
Already thinking about that one.
I love it. Oh my goodness. How fun. Well, how about I take you to the last question? Yeah?
Yep.
What a joy. So my last question, always interested in, so much is this in the book, and we've talked about these things, but sparks and moments in our lives. I'm very interested in, if you would share with our listeners, person, place, thing, book, movie of, that seats you in who you are today in this moment.
I had all these ideas about what I was going to say for this, and then just with the way you said that, I don't know that I want to change it again. But anyway, so people, places, things that have that seats me where I am in this moment. Okay. My first thought when I was looking at this question was that I've had so many different moments, and we talked before about how, isn't it funny how you focus on different things at different times? Yeah. So my daughter, you mentioned I have a daughter, and Sophie, who's now 21, by the way. Oh, my goodness. And doing her 4th year of veterinary at university. Anyway, when she was young, I was a single mum, and I guess that was a big defining moment for me, because my focus was her. It was always her, it was a massive, massive priority. And I remember being in Auckland and driving down the highway one day thinking, this is not who I am and what I want to be. I've got this girl that I'm dropping off at daycare really early. I'm working all these hours. I'm doing all this stuff, and I decided I needed to change. So that was like one sort of moment that I just went, aha. Yeah. But then another one was when I was, on the work side of life and working massive hours, did I think 6 conferences that year, but was in total burnout. And you don't even recognize when you're in total burnout, I don't think you just exist.
Yep.
And everything was, just magnified. And all of a sudden coming to that realization, again, something needed to change. But it was like, and then another one was, like when you and I caught up, and then wanting. So there's been all these moments and all these things. But what it all came down to was looking at where I was as far as looking at the results I was getting and knowing that the results were all based on the meaning that I was giving something. So And there is that saying, meaning drives results. And it is so true, because it's like looking at why you're doing something. So whether my why was Sophie, or whether my why was work, or whether my why was health, or whether my why was whatever. And I guess the moments that spark that change is when you actually realize, why am I doing this? And then you go, okay, I'm good. I'm changing now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Those are awesome. Yeah.
And so every time, you get stressed and you think, oh, I'm working all these hours, or I'm doing all this stuff. It's like, why am I doing this? Is this actually going to mean anything or matter in a year's time? And is it actually the most important thing to me at this very moment?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. My dad and I talk about it's somebody's book, and it's like the 10-10-10 rule. Like, will it matter in 10 weeks, 10 months, 10 years kind of thing as well?
Yeah, I like that.
I like that too. And I was like, it is the why for sure. You and I both.
Yeah.
I've never seen Simon Sinek. You mentioned it in the book, and I speak about him too. So I think that really digging into the why, your why, is super important too. And you talk about that in the book too. So well, yay, what a pleasure. I'm so happy to have you on the show. It's been a while. I've been trying to get Debbie on for a while. So so I'll put the book up one more time for those of you who are watching, not listening. But it's Work-Life Balance, My Arse, Debbie Ireland. And you are at www.debbieireland.com. Yeah, for that. And it's on Amazon, I'm assuming. Yes. That's
it is on Amazon.
Yep.
I do have some hard copies that I send out if people live in Australia or New Zealand, but otherwise you can purchase a hard copy or the Amazon Kindle one. So
yeah, that's super good. So thank you so much for being on the show. Yeah,
nice to see you.
I know, it's nice to see you too. I know, I was like, we had a little catch up before as well. So full disclosure. So anyway, Debbie, thank you for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Everyone, that was another episode of the Mavens Do It Better podcast. And here is to another beautiful day on this big blue spinning sphere. Thanks, everybody. And thank you, Debbie. Bye.
Thanks.
The original music on this podcast was created by Jesse Cates.